Tombstones climbing up the sky to claim the boredom and the whine of the radiator, to freeze the fates that intertwine, unresolved and undefined in this echo chamber. Once you've given up the ghost, just like Lazarus, you know there's an operator, some strange passenger inside. To that strange power I'm resigned like an iron anchor. I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song I wrote, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo. Shadows on the blinds, your heart's a mercenary, but like a dancer on the wire, come the sparks of frayed desire as a fire's carried. I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song I wrote, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday night.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Full Moon Foxes with AzurineFoxglove and MidKit.
I hope everything is going well for you, and I hope it has been a lovely, lovely April evening for everyone. It's always a pleasure to do these with Azzy. Oh my god, I don't know why I had a stroke. halfway through saying that. It's always a
I have
pleasure
that
to
effect on
visit
people. It's
Azzy,
okay.
and telling these stories and sharing them with a fellow person of the paranormal and just of things that go bump in the night. It's just fantastic, and I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, darling, it's always a pleasure. I'm just happy that somebody else took. I've gushed about this before, but it always makes me happy to see somebody just as interested in horror as I am. I've loved it since I was a teenager, and it was not, in fact, a phase. And it just kind of stuck with me forever, and now I'm not even gonna fight it anymore.
Oh yeah, no, same. It always just fascinated me. Also, Dr. Bad Times is in my fucking chat. Hey Jackie, I feel fucking unstoppable right now.
I have regaled her with your silk song preparation, sir.
She has indeed told me about you growing stronger and stronger.
You are a fucking menace. Anyway, so for today's episode, we started this podcast off with ghosts. So I figured we could try to kind of segue that a little bit into today's topic, which is haunted places.
And I'm looking forward to this because the city I lived in, and most of my life, my hometown, Columbus, Georgia, is known for a lot of hauntings in a lot of areas like that.
I know of a couple of locations that are nearby. There's one in particular that's a particularly nice ghost hunting spot.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at. All I see in the chat is Radiant Pure Vessel can suck my left nut.
Oh my
god! Also, hello, Edge.
Hi Jade. Hello Change. Good to see you both. Yummers. The place that I'm talking about, there's a hospital in I want to say about 3 hours drive from where I live. I found out about this through my my editor. Actually, he is a lover of ghost hunting. He told me about this place that he wanted to go explore with me. It's, oh gosh, I wish I could remember the name of the hospital to save my life. But supposedly there are like self-guided tours that you can take with, and they give you like a couple of kind of like low grade ghost hunting equipment. But you can bring your own. It costs extra if you bring your own. But he wanted to go ghost hunting there for a time, but then schedules got in the way. We never actually ended up going. But supposedly it was an old war hospital.
Ooh, color me interested. I would have loved to see that.
Perfect place for something like a Gray Lady story, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, no, totally. That stuff like always interests me, especially when it has to do with the scary things when it comes to war hospitals or hospitals. I don't know why. That's always just interests me. And it's weird because I have like a fear of hospitals. Because usually when you go to the hospital, it usually means like something really bad.
Yep.
And even as someone who worked at a hospital for most of the pandemic, like it still frightens me to this day. There's a lot of places in the hospital that I found out that are possibly haunted at the main hospital in my hometown that I wouldn't touch with a 50-foot pole.
Yep, that would be definitely that's definitely something to be scared of. For me, it's dentists, not doctors or like hospitals, but dentists. I'm terrified of the dentist.
Oh, that is totally understandable. Like I'm
a grown-ass adult and I'm terrified of the dentist.
Yeah, no, I hate the dentist, and it's also partially the fact that I'm like extremely not hypochondriac. I'm extremely like attentive to like hygiene with my teeth, like extremely. So I always hated the dentist in general because of all the stuff I would wonder, like, oh, they're gonna say that you have this, 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 and this that needs to be done out of the blue, and I'd be like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah, I am okay, confession time. I am not as attentive as I should be to my teeth. I've been getting better with it though. But I am convinced that the next time I go to see the dentist, they're gonna tell me that I need to get like dentures or something, or something like that. I'm 24. I should not be getting dentures at 24. But I'm convinced that that's what they'd say. The last time I went to the dentist, I had a tooth shatter. And it was so bad that it was giving me constant migraines and it was unending pain. But dumbass me, I just decided to ignore it until I went drinking one night. And I woke up the next morning to the most excruciating pain in my fucking mouth. So I was like, nope, that's it. We're going to the dentist. So I went in and they had to pull the tooth because obviously it was shattered. But they said it was a good thing that they did too because the wisdom tooth was growing underneath it.
Oh yeah, no, that's actually a really good thing because that
would have caused an abscess.
Bad.
Yeah.
That's my main fear because I still have my wisdom teeth. Like,
I do too.
Because my dentist would constantly hound me about that. Oh, you need to get them out. Go ahead and get them out. And I'm like, well, they're not really bugging me, and they're not really doing anything. I'm not gonna waste the money to get them out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I mean, because the two that are on my bottom jaw are sideways, facing forward. So. That. Well, granted, I also, like, from the dentist, I was told I would need braces at some point, and that never happened. I don't know what happened, but two of my front, like, bottom canine teeth are sideways, and they've always been since I was a kid.
That's so weird.
I mean, I know we joke about kitsune stuff and stuff like that, but I genuinely have, like, kitsune-looking fucking canine teeth that look like my character. Like, the pictures you see, I sent Spacey refs of my actual teeth. I was like, I have an idea, and she's like, what? And it's like,
can you
I'm
imagine
gonna have a weird ref for you. Say what?
Can you imagine a haunted dentist office?
God.
Well, the only thing you hear is the mechanical whirring of that god-awful drill.
I would shit myself inside out.
I would too. Easiest way to fucking terrify me, just send me the dentist.
Yeah, no, I cannot stand the dentist. At all.
Oh, welcome in, Spade. I see you over there in Jackie's chat there.
Oh, the final fight sucked. I'm so sorry, Spade.
Finally finished Yakuza 3. He's gonna have me watch the VOD, that part of the VOD, and record my response tomorrow. So I'm getting a blind react.
Should be really good. I managed to pop in a bit of it while I was out and about, and that it looked like a lot of fun. It looked like hell, but it looked like a lot of fun.
Oh, that game made me cry so many times. I hate that this franchise makes me cry so much. Oh. There's one other place. The block. Oh, yeah. 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 Blockies at 3. Oh, my lord. There's one other place that I do I don't know if it's haunted, but there's a place, it's called the Witch's Castle. It's a couple hours south of me. But supposedly that particular place was it was owned by a witch, during the I want to say 1700s. But I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But it was owned by a witch, and oh god, actually, hang on. I can probably tell you the history real quick. It was the witch's castle. It is the legends have it. In the mid 1800s, a man named Danford Balch bought a large portion of land around the area while it was in the process of being developed. It was he had to hire help for the area, so he hired a guy by the name of Mortimer Stump, who lived in the cabin on the property and fell in love with Balch's daughter Anna. Balch refused to give Stump his blessing, and they threatened to elope. And they did end up eloping because they were young and in love. In November of 1858, which caused her father to become extremely depressed, which led to days of no sleep and heavy drinking. When the young couple returned to the area, so this man, Danford Balch, shot Mortimer Stump in the face with a double-barreled shotgun. He was arrested, but was able to escape from the wooden jail he was being held in. It led to an execution, which was the first legal execution in that state at the time. After his death, the property was passed around through different hands, and some people say it is still haunted.
That would genuinely be a pretty cool place to check out. Like
that would be a great place to go ghost hunting. It's kind of a pretty area too. It's a lovely little place. It's covered in, graffiti now, but like there are a couple spots that are really pretty.
I would genuinely love to go see that. Like, that sounds absolutely lovely. It just is, as like someone who loves the paranormal. Who knows like what you could capture? Like,
oh yeah.
There is a place in Columbus, Georgia. For those who don't know, Columbus, Georgia has a lot of history and a lot of things in the Columbus kind of date back to after the Revolution. And the last battle of the Civil War was actually fought in Columbus, Georgia. The last battle. You can actually go visit the battlegrounds, or what is left of the battlefield. And there is there is quite a lot of history and quite a lot of history that still wants to remain, despite what we do. There has been a lot of times in certain areas where and I say this also with mentioning that Columbus is not exactly a safe city. I call it Kill-lumbus for a reason. But there are times where you feel like you're being watched, and it's not just like something like that could actually hurt you. There are times where you feel like you are not alone. I've been downtown a lot at night. Downtown is not as dangerous as some people make it out to be at night. But I've had some times where I've seen a couple of things and I've felt a couple of things where I'm no medium, spirit medium, anything like that, but you know that feeling where you know for a fact you aren't the only person there.
Oh,
and
yeah,
while it seems like there's no one around you, no one you can see, you can look all around you and like all the other people are going about their business, but you feel like there's something like eyes burning into you.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Didn't you mention last time that you had an experience with something similar to that, where it was like somebody in your house or your aunt's house or something like that.
Yeah, at my my grandparents' house, my
That's the
grandparents'
one. Yes.
house, seeing what looked like a dark shadow shape, like dart. It was like split second dart into the room that she passed away. When I was there visiting my great grandfather, and it didn't stop there. There was a couple of times where like I would not end up doing things like going to the bathroom at that house. Like
Mm-hmm.
when we'd go visit my great grandfather, I would not go anywhere near that hallway because it was just like a feeling of something is there. Don't know if it's my grandma, my great grandma. I don't think it's my great grandma, and I don't want to risk it running into that if it turns out to be
Yeah.
something that feels like her that isn't. The
Just
worst
absolutely
one.
not something that we want to deal with.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like the worst one was after my great grandfather passed away, and all that happened. We were of course were left with the house and left with the location. So while my great uncle, my great grandparents' son, was finding a buyer for the place, like it was a big property. Like I said, these people were like the term Southern grandparents. They lived off the land. They grew everything. They ate everything they ate. They grew vegetables and all that stuff.
Right.
They saved every penny they had. Didn't really live fancy, anything like that. Their house they paid for with their own money and stuff like that.
Right.
They had built and paid for. And while they were looking for a buyer, me and my father were basically tasked with keeping the upkeep on the land, and like just mowing the grass, trimming the hedges, weed eating, all that stuff. What me and my father would take turns on the riding lawnmower and like switching between like weed whacking and stuff like that. And we'd end up there at this point there was nothing in the house. Nothing. Like the doors were completely locked. Like everything had been moved out. We had people help, and all the stuff in the house was divided among their children and grandchildren, and of course great grandchildren.
Right.
There was like a time where I rode by like on the lawnmower. I rode by like there was still curtains like covering the windows. I saw like the curtain move, and I'm like, nah, I'm just seeing shit. Like
Yeah.
it's hot outside. It just Georgia summer, even though it's like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's hot. It's humid.
I felt
I'm
this
seeing
summer.
shit.
I understand.
I'm just seeing shit. They're playing tricks on me. And then I passed again. And I saw what looked like the curtain kind of peered open, like something was looking at me. I'd like immediately turn the other way. Nah.
Nope. All the nope.
You cannot. No. I'm not dealing with whatever that is. I don't want to look through that and see what I could possibly see through there.
Mm-hmm. I haven't had anything quite like that, but I swear I once had a wholesome encounter with a ghost or an apparition of some kind. And I'm pretty sure that is the same one that's supposedly been following my family for like pretty much my entire life, because my mother used to swear up and down that our house that we lived in when I was a kid, a little kid, was haunted, because she would be up in the middle of the night. All of us would be asleep. It was me and my 3 siblings. We would all be asleep. And she's hearing our toys go off.
Yeah, no, that's
and
freaky.
every time that she would come into the room, they would be off, we would be in bed, dead asleep. She would come into the room and turn a light on to try and catch us in the act. Nothing. Everything would stop. But again, I'm pretty sure I had a wholesome encounter with that particular ghost. Oh,
Sorry, Nair's dealing with Holly. She's trying to bite his hand.
oh,
But
can't have that, honey bun.
to
But the only
continue
reason I
that.
say wholesome, the only reason I say wholesome is because I was pretty much your standard depressed kid in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Add honors classes on top of that. I was under constant pressure to get straight A's. So I went to bed a couple of nights, and I was really stressing out because I had spent like 6 hours studying. It would be like 2 a.m, right? I had to be up in 4 hours. So there were nights where, yes, I would cry. But I kid you not, I would feel this warmth behind me every time I was in bed. Like someone was trying to hug me. And if it's the same ghost, then not only did that thing follow us like several cities over, but it's attached to somebody that is not... It's attached to somebody, not something.
Do you happen
Whatever
to
the case, though,
have you happen to like narrow down who is attached to? Also, welcome, Pacific.
Welcome. Who? I don't know, but potentially my mother. I don't talk about her a lot for reasons, but there's a possibility that it is my mother that this particular specter is attached to, because I've moved out ages ago. It's been about 6 years now? A little over 5 years. But, I haven't seen it since neither hide nor hair. Although I swear there is something in here that keeps knocking cans off of my pantry shelf.
There's been a couple of times where I thought it was a ghost, but it was Holly. She likes to climb. Behind me is like a set of shelves where me and Nair and I like a clothes rack where we like fold and hang our clothes. And
Yeah.
Holly seems to get a kick out of jumping on that and then jumping on the back of my chair and scaring the absolute daylights out of me. And then I grab her, and then she looks like she just saw a ghost herself.
Just, why are you grabbing me like this? Put me down, Mumber.
Put me down, I've done nothing. I'm innocent.
Mumber.
I'm too cute, and I'm innocent, and then she starts purring and thinks that that's going to get her out of trouble.
Does it, though?
See, I'm cute. No. I still equip her. How is everyone?
Gets scared by cat, suddenly equips the cat.
I am doing okay. What about you, Hazzy?
I'm doing all right. Just happy to be back here on another beautiful full moon night.
Me too.
I'm gonna be real, I almost forgot about this. Not gonna lie. I'm so glad that I thought about it like several days beforehand and not been like scrambling.
Yeah, I kept track of it. I'm like, I don't want to bug her, but I think another full moon is coming up.
If I forget, bug me. If I forget, genuinely bug me. I will jump on that shit like stripes on a tiger.
And honestly, doing this like late at night is actually perfect considering like the context of it all.
Oh yeah, the context, our collective schedules, it all around is just really good.
Because I think me and you, aside from a couple of other members, are like the main like not outlaws, night owls. I think there's like I think at least half of Invalid Gateway are like night owls, and the rest of them have an actual functioning sleep schedule.
I was gonna say I think the only exceptions are Spy, maybe Swole, and who else? Cody.
Does Spade? I thought it would have been Spade, or do they?
Depends on the day.
I don't know. I do that thing where like it takes forever for me to get to sleep because I'm already ADHD and autistic. You throw that shit in the mix.
I'm not even that, and I just can't fall asleep sometimes.
Yeah, I just kind of like lay there, and I'm like, all right. It's like I'm exhausted. I'm falling asleep at my computer. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed. And I lay down, and I'm just like, I'm not tired anymore. And then, but the thing is, when I get to sleep, I'm fucking out like a light. I
There are
slept through a
days-
fucking hurricane.
Oh man. There are days where I cannot fall asleep to save my life, and then there are days where the second my head hits the pillow, I'm out like a light. Especially when I'm stoned.
Oh god, no, I can imagine that. Like, that shit, like...
Clocked out
Out.
immediately.
Zello says, my younger brother swore that he once saw dark red shadows in the basement storage area a decade back. There are no windows down there, and there was nothing red for light to reflect off of. Shut and seal that door.
Yeah. I used to see yes, of course, specific. We do want to hear anybody in my chat as well. If you guys have haunting stories that you either witnessed yourself or you have somebody else knows that you've witnessed it. Feel free to drop like a brief summary as well. We do want to hear your guys' takes as well.
Yes, please do. I would love to hear everyone's stories and such. There's no door, it's just a door frame. Then, like, fucking Tom and Jerry seal
find
up
a way,
that shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, find a way to get your hands on a crap ton of plywood and seal that door permanently. Excuse my roommate dying.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he just took a hit. Put salt around the rim as well. Salt around the put a half circle of salt around the door frame. Guaranteed to keep a spirit out. And make sure there are no like broken bits of that salt ring. Anyone breaks that, or if it is not prepared correctly, you're fucked.
Azzy, my dear, would you happen to explain? Might be a stupid question, but would you happen to know the correlation with using salt to deter spirits? And I mean that genuinely, because I've never really known.
Oh goodness. I don't, but I think I can. I think it's more demons than ghosts. Why does salt repel spirits? It is rooted in folk magic and superstition, but funny enough, it actually originates in pre-Christian and early Christian beliefs about protection and purification. Oh, that's right, because salt is seen as a symbol of purity, and you use salt in a lot of like purification stuff.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah, because you use it like with preserving meats and stuff like that.
Not only that, but it is also referred to, and I just found this out, it is referred to as poor man's silver. It's considered pure.
I never thought of that.
And
I actually never knew it was called that.
It is sometimes referred to as poor man's silver. Because it is seen as pure, it has about a fifth of the density of silver. They do have the same weight per pound, but it's cheaper to get salt than it is to get real silver. At the time, at least. That might have changed now.
I remember salt used to be like such a precious resource that the person who sat next to it was called the salt chair.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Because it used to be, before salt was like everywhere, it was kind of like a really hard to find ingredient. Yeah, got to be worth your weight in salt and all that.
Yep.
My haunted place idea. Ever heard of the 3rd Street Trestle, where the 3rd Street, known as the Shoal Creek Trestle and the Old Road Trestle in Austin, Texas? I don't know if I've ever heard of the 3rd Street Trestle. Trisket.
Ooh. Trisket?
Should I try and also try and get a raw iron ingot in case it's just an attack? Okay. I mean,
iron can be used to ward off spirits.
You could just dome the spirit with a piece
iron is
of
good against fairies or fae creatures.
As a Kitsune, I've dealt with fae before, and they are quite frankly annoying.
Yeah, I've had a run-in or two with them. I once had one almost trick me out of selling my potion shop.
They tried to kill
Well,
me
I
when they
say
kind of learned
I
that,
say
you know.
selling, but it was more like they almost tricked me into giving it away.
See, that's when you dome them. Actually, I can make that joke here. That's when you dome them with a brake shoe.
Yeah.
Well, then again, Fae are small,
I-
aren't they?
Not necessarily. There are some that can be
Raw iron chocolate.
Salt is both a mineral taken from the earth and a powerful domestic symbol, both of which are anathema to Fae and other beings not of this world. Ooh. Like iron and to an extent silver, salt repulses and can even harm the essence of such creatures. It symbolizes the earth element. Interesting. In some traditions, and has historically been expensive. Expensive ingredients, more powerful magic is pretty universal. Okay. Well, that explains the salt then. Aren't corgis supposed to be steeds for the Fae? Corgis, I've also seen badgers, and for those brave enough, hedgehogs and porcupines are also good steeds. But then you got the more adorable ones like mice and rats.
I like mice. They look
Mice
a
are
little creature.
adorable. Certain breeds of rats are also strangely adorable. I had a friend that had a white rat as a kid, and that was the sweetest little rat that I'd ever seen in my life. Bless you.
That was a dad sneeze.
That was the dad sneeze. Jackie says you have a dad sneeze.
Got that shotgun blast, shake the entire house sneeze. Aren't corgis supposed to be steeds for the Fae? I'm not sure.
Imagine this tiny little fairy with wings riding on the back of a happy-go-lucky corgi.
Corgi, we don't deserve corgis. Those are milk bread dog. It's like a Shiba.
They are. Yeah.
Shoal Creek Trestle was one of the last remaining landmarks of the Texas Special Passenger Train. Okay.
Do you guys think war forts are still haunted? Like the Alamo?
Oh, yeah, no.
I guarantee you the Alamo is still haunted. Yes!
You should have seen the look on my face when it had the fucking
Beautiful.
prowler sound effect.
Beautiful segue.
But it says, every night around midnight, if you believe, you might just hear the horn of an E7, followed by the whistle of a Katy Pacific. You know, I'd believe that. Ghosts of the railroads kind of linger. If there's anything I've always learned from tales from people who've worked for the railroad and stuff like that, I've always learned that stuff lingers. And
oh, I absolutely believe that Gettysburg is still most definitely haunted.
I've seen
Absolutely believe that.
all the stuff that appears on the internet about found footage of footage of Gettysburg, and I'm inclined to believe some of it of actual soldiers that are real. There's no way that place isn't haunted.
Oh yeah, Concord, Gettysburg, Fort Vancouver, what was the Fort Knox? Definitely are all still haunted. Or
Fort
if
Knox
not
definitely.
haunted, still have a very strong presence of not necessarily evil, just for lack of a better term, bad vibes.
They one is in Fort Mitchell in Alabama is a friend of mine and his wife both scared the absolute fuck out of me there. All I heard was yeah. But he got married at an event center there. Him and his fiance did. And after the wedding and after the reception, we headed out to the actual old fort. Like the old fort that's still built. I believe it is Fort Mitchell. Yeah, Fort Mitchell, Alabama. if you look that up, you can definitely see like the size of the actual old fort. One of those wood log wall lined older small forts. And I didn't expect much that day. I didn't expect much of anything that day. Like much of a visit or anything like that. And we ended up going out there. A lot of his family is rooted in Native American, and unfortunately, Fort Mitchell was a interesting place for Native Americans. I mean, interesting in probably the lightest way. I don't want to discuss that because it's not my place to talk about that, and it's still an awful thing. But history is important to know about it, even the dark spots. And we headed out there, and we ended up like entering the fort. I just started taking pictures, like so you take pictures to see like if anything like shows up in them later that you didn't see yourself. It was me, Nair, my friend Sean, and his fiance. I mean, his wife. I should say his wife after that. And a mutual friend of ours, and we were just all hanging out and decided to go out. The second there were birds chirping, and you could hear the wind. The second we entered the fort, it was like every other sound in the world was put on mute. No birds, no wind, nothing like that. For me, who has studied like a lot of paranormal shit, that's a bad sign to me.
Oh, yes.
When even the birds have shut up suddenly. Not even a single one.
Nothing wants to be in there.
We walked in there, and it was a weird feeling. And we walked around, we took a look, and I decided to pull up. I don't know how accurate those ones are, but like those EVP apps you can download on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how accurate those are, but we found some interesting stuff. And one thing that was strange to me is they have like a lot of old artifacts from like the 1800s and 1700 all around the fort.
Interesting.
Sorry. My brain like decided to like pull the tape out of the VCR for a second. But there was like a carriage, like one of those open top like carriages pulled behind a horse that was like tucked in like a shed. We walked up to it, and my friend Sean was like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe this." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Put your hand over here," and I'm like, "All right." It's cold outside. It's cool outside. Like 50 degrees. Nice. I know, before any of you fucking Yankees say anything, oh, it's not cold, shut up.
No, that is cold. I don't know what they're talking about. 50
degrees. Like, we were wearing jackets. Like, there was no wind, obviously, in the fort all of a sudden. But I moved my hand over to, like, the seat, and it felt warm. Like, someone was sitting there, or just sitting there. Like, felt,
oh my goodness,
warmth.
And there was nobody else in there with you?
No, no one else has sat on that chair. Like, I don't even think we'd be allowed to.
That's crazy. The way I would have gotten out of there, because I would have been scared.
We eventually like walked out of the fort, and sound like birds showed up again. The wind showed up again. I'm like, I'm not imagining that. I asked my friend Sean, I'm like, I can't be the only person who noticed this, right? I'm not going crazy, right? He's like, no, I hear it too. And
imagine that for a second, guys. You walk into a location, whether it be a farmhouse, a church, or some other property, or a war fort in this case, and the second you so much as step foot across the threshold, silence. And I'm not talking like the ambient silence that comes with like usual summer day bullshit. I'm talking dead silence. Imagine that for a minute. And you don't really notice it.
The only sound you could hear
Until
was
you
like
start
us
hearing it
talking and like our footsteps as we walked on the grass.
And you don't notice it until you start hearing it again. And you're like, wait, what the fuck?
It is definitely... Actually, hold on, Azzy. I can actually send you a photo real quick.
Ooh.
Right here, you're gonna see... I'm sorry, this is kind of small, but you can see like that little white one that's in the front. That's what we felt the warmth from.
Let me see.
That white one that person's standing in front of.
Oh, that is kind of small, but oh. Where was this again? Somewhere in Georgia?
Yeah, this is Fort Mitchell, Alabama.
Ah.
So this was like
Very nice.
old.
Well
1813.
Well preserved despite the time passage. That's 200 years. 212 years.
It is hard to believe that's been
that long.
And I just think about the horrors that fort has probably seen.
Oh yeah.
So, just for the hell of it, I'm like, you know what? This thing's probably not accurate, but I got nothing to lose. And I downloaded like an EVP app really quick on my phone. And I know like it's like on base of like Fort Mitchell, like the old historical fort in like Fort Mitchell Cemetery. It's all like an army or armed forces base.
Yeah.
But I found, and we started actually picking up things. There was a person who drove out there, I think, to check on some stuff, and they saw us like looking around and stuff. So they showed us what was remnants of like a forge out in the woods, not too far from there. Like a forge stove, and the things like started going like crazy.
Really?
Said fire. Stove.
Oh.
And we got to see, and my friend, you know, means Native American. He's getting emotional, a little emotional, because these were his people.
Right.
A lot of like I said, Fort Mitchell was a place where they would take Native Americans, and for the sake of,
my God,
I feel like
no.
I'm not at liberty to talk about this stuff, but it is important to know that it's important to know those dark patches of history, whether you want to hear it or not. Something, those are doomed. Those who fail to understand history are doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
But we were picking up things, like talking about like different areas, like in the woods, trees. And we walked out to where one of the battlefields were out there. We stood there, and you hear someone talking about a musket was said over it. And the one thing that shook my friend to his core was we heard what sounded like a gunshot over the thing.
Oh my God.
It sounded like something like hitting something hard. It was distinct enough to sound like a gunshot going off.
My God.
And my friend like gets like starts like tearing. He's like, "I'm sorry I couldn't save you." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, understanding, and I just realized like what he's kind of probably understanding through this, through Native American. And it was a really emotional time for all of us, and we just kept picking up like open space, field, open, brick, fort, like just all these different, and it was just like going crazy, especially out by that remnants of that forge. And I did a lot of thinking about that day, and just it it really reminds me of like they are both metaphorically and literally in this sense. There are ghosts that stick around of the past. Some will notice them. Some people will notice them. Some people won't. But it's
On that
important to
front,
listen to those to understand that
absolutely.
dark part of history that anyone has to learn.
Absolutely. On that front, there is this one is, I believe, fiction. I'm hoping fiction, honestly, because I read this one and it gave me genuine chills. But I found a story called Gunpowder Hill. And going kind of in the same vein as the prisoners that were kept there, this one is similar. It's a prisoner of war story. Again, I'm kind of hoping this one's fiction because if it isn't, that's fucked up. But this one goes as follows. Every year during a period from 1946 to 1952, the residents of a small town in western Germany heard what resembled a 6-gun salute on the 15th of every March. Some residents
God
made
damn it.
frequent trips. Oh,
Sorry, I fucked up something on the... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh no. Some residents made frequent trips to the surrounding hills in hopes of finding the source of the noise, but to no avail. Townsfolk eventually named the area Gunpowder Hill. The children of the town even created a legend about it, stating that soldiers, who in that time were missing, had been executed and were buried somewhere in the hill. The purpose of the 6-gun salute was to guide people to the location of the men. On the 15th of March, every year, the children would gather at the edge of town, eagerly waiting the 6 gunshots to be heard. In the late 1951, the hills on the outskirts of the small German town were surveyed for the future construction of a NATO military site. The military base was to consist of a series of deep underground bunkers and weapons supplies in the case of a Soviet invasion. In February 1952, construction began. Just 4 weeks later, the crew began digging a massive 200-foot deep hole for the future underground storage bunkers. It was during this time that the crew made a morbid discovery. As they neared the end of the digging operation, a human hand was seen sticking out of the bottom of the hole. Upon further examination, 27 bodies were discovered at the bottom of the 200-foot deep hole, dressed in prisoner of war uniforms worn by the Allies in Nazi war camps. A NATO officer ordered for the bodies to be exhumed immediately. As the medical team watched the bodies being carried out of the hole, they looked on in puzzlement. The bodies were remarkably well preserved. Furthermore, the POW uniforms bore a strange insignia, unlike any the men had seen before. An orange circle with a single black dash in the middle. However, the most unsettling characteristic was their faces. Their eyes were wide open and their mouths were sealed shut with an unknown adhesive. The bodies were immediately dispatched to the local morgue for identification and pathological examination. That night, the mortician began his work. He found it difficult to concentrate on his task. The eyes on the first man he was to begin work on seemed to be staring back at him. The mortician took his scalpel and began his first cut. Blood poured out of the incision with staggering force. The mortician backed away from the table in shock. The red liquid began running down the table, pooling onto the floor below. The eyes of the body began watering, and streaks of tears ran down its face. Soon its eyes rolled into the back of his head. The bleeding ceased. In horror, the mortician ran to the door, but not before catching a glance at the 26 other bodies laying out on separate tables. Their eyes stared at him with hopeless fear. These men were still alive.
Holy shit.
I do not have an author for this story, unfortunately, which is kind of the commonplace for this particular site because this one is just a Creative Commons web sharing site. But if this is not simply a fictional tale and this is something that actually happened, how crazy is that?
That
27 perfectly preserved living people. at the bottom of a 200-foot deep hole.
That's absolutely terrifying.
And prisoners of war, no less.
That's even because you consider, like, the horrors that these men have experienced.
Prisoners of war were not treated well at all, regardless of any war that we're talking about, whether it be ancient or current. They are not treated well.
They aren't. They absolutely aren't. Like, not a prisoner of war, but it's something. I'm gonna leave his name anonymous. Thank you.
Right.
But one of my members of my train club, he was a combat medic in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And last weekend when we had open house, he showed up, and it had been a while since we'd seen him. And we were wondering how he was doing, and it turns out, oh man, this poor man, like, and I hope that doesn't come off as sarcastic. I mean, that is, like, genuinely, like.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
This was telling us that he was having a rough week of, like, episodes of
Oh no.
certain things, and like thankfully his therapist, his doctor, was able to help him through it, but he told us, like, about, like, having to, like, patch people up with just artillery whizzing overhead, and having to, like being trained how to keep a cool head under situations like that, and just focus on helping
pretty
them.
out there.
You do not dive when you hear artillery, he told me, like, and let that man bleed out. You save him. And I'm sorry to both viewers of the chat for this. He told me about how they brought a soldier home in a bucket.
Oh.
And he told me to this day he can't hold a live fish or anything like that, because it just triggers that memory, and it hurts my heart to know that people like that. I don't really care what your opinion is, what anyone here's opinion, like, in the chat, is on soldiers or armed forces members, but no one deserves to have to relive memories like that.
No one deserves a level of trauma. One would argue that the most haunted place is the human mind.
It is. So, and I gave him a hug because he was, like, starting to shake and tear up about it, because I know that.
Of course.
Also, I think Inky is trying to get your attention.
Sorry, Inky, I didn't want to interrupt Jackie. Oh, they DM'd me, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Inky. It looks amazing.
It breaks my heart to know that people like this have had to go through horrors and the horrors of just war. Like, war in general, just, no matter, is just an awful fucking thing. And those who have had to experience that, I couldn't imagine. Like, I've talked to Tomoka about this before, but I couldn't imagine what it would have been like for soldiers on D-Day in World War II.
God. I remember that. I remember reading about all of that. They would have us go through units in school on that, and I would cry every single time. I'm also the kind of person that cried every time the same 9/11 footage was shown, but that's not the point.
Mean, no, I don't blame you. I would too. Because just the fact that you're getting off these boats and there's just shell after shell after shell whizzing past you. Even on, like, crawling on the ground, on the beach. There's shell, gunfire, explosions, bombs, everything.
It's terrible. It is.
It shouldn't be a thing.
It shouldn't be. But unfortunately, in a world such as this, you can't have good without evil.
Unfortunately. And like
And my
I'd
heart
say
goes
a
out
lot of
to
that. Oh, sorry.
yeah, my heart goes out to everybody, either those directly involved or those directly impacted by family members, friends, loved ones' involvement. Because everybody suffers. There is nobody that walks out of this unscathed. Whether it be the
100%.
soldiers themselves, their spouses, their children, their friends, their family, everyone suffers.
Yes, thank you, Inky. That sums it up right there.
Yeah, without getting too deep into the politics aspect, yes. I try to keep things mostly neutral here. But there is no coming back from any of it once it starts. And there is no end to it.
There
once it's
was a
already
quote
happened.
from one of my favorite video game characters, and that is, and I say a lot of this, first of all, as someone who likes military machinery. I love fighter jets. I love warships. That's obvious enough. I love the artillery and the design that goes into these magnificent machines, but I hate that they had to be built for those purposes. But there's a quote from, funny enough, one of my favorite video game characters, that war is when the young and stupid are tricked by the old and bitter into killing each other.
Yep. A statement that's never been more true.
And even then, like, my heart still forever goes out to soldiers, to armed forces members, because you are out there sacrificing your life for others. And that, for someone who couldn't get into the Navy like she wanted to, my dream was to get into the Navy because a lot of my family was in the Navy. I wanted to be a pilot. As much as I love trains, I love fighter aircraft. And I wanted to protect my country, and I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
I would get scared for all the people that would sign on to join the military after they graduated high school.
I found
have several
out
classmates that are now in the Marines.
Because I'm on the autism spectrum, that I'm considered mentally disabled and I can't join.
Yeah. I understand why they have that. But at the same time, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, you don't get to live out your dream. You don't get to fight for... You don't get to officially fight for the place that you live in, the place that you love. But at the same time, you're also sparing yourself from a lifetime of unending torment. And I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. I can't even speak on that.
Neither can I. I've had a lot of family and friends who have been in the armed forces, and I've talked to them and treaded lightly, of course, to not bring up any bad memories. I've treaded lightly to talk to them about it, and they've told me so many things about their time overseas and their time fighting. And it definitely, I think, with you on here, like, without getting too into the current political climate, kind of glad that I'm not in the armed forces right now.
I agree. As much as I would like to say that I would defend, well, I can't really speak for the entire country because there is a lot of people that I would not want to defend.
I'm the exact same way. But again, I'm sorry for just suddenly turning this and the
Yeah,
conversation into that.
but it does tie back into what we were talking about before, how the most haunted place is the human psyche. There are things that we couldn't even imagine that live in there.
I think a lot about that one term. Whether you're religious or not, it still applies. The idle mind is the devil's workshop.
I agree.
Because I've, as someone with a lot of PTSD of my own from other things and stuff like that, I've learned that there are times where I would like to be alone, and then the silence sets in.
Yeah. I never really attributed it to the devil's workshop type deal, but the mind has a strange way of filling your head with demons that don't really exist.
It does. It really does. And it also tying back into what we were talking about. I definitely believe battlefields are probably some of the most haunted places, considering what
You
goes on.
witness so much.
And when you consider, especially tying back to Gettysburg, that a lot of soldiers were kind of just buried there.
Yep. It's really emotional to think about something like that. To think about how many people are honestly some even forgotten about, nameless, because there's nothing left of them to be claimed. And it's things like that that keep me up at night. Like, how many people die without names? How many people die nameless, faceless, utterly unknown to an unforgiving world?
That stuff does keep me up a lot to think about. How much of it just... There's a reason that the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in America is guarded 24/7 almost. No, is guarded 24/7, and you are not allowed within a certain amount of feet of that tomb.
There are certain places that I would not touch, and that I'm hopefully grateful most graffiti artists haven't touched. And it's major war zones like that. And I've seen people graffiti graves in cemeteries.
That
Shame
stuff,
on you.
No, yeah, no. I'm all for graffiti. I'm all for graffitiing up trains and shit like that. Show off
I
your
love seeing
art.
that.
Yeah, me too. Show off your art. Let it be seen all over the world as the train travels, all over the country as it visits different yards and stuff. Don't graffiti the tomb of someone who passed away. That's in bad taste, and overall, that's just fucking disrespectful.
On a somewhat lighter note, that is also the fastest way to invite that angered spirit to your home to kill you.
That's also a very fast way for me to invite my foot into your ass.
Yeah. There it is. Okay, so shifting into a less deep and what's the word, charged topic. Another thing I've heard about less and less because of Friday the 13th being Friday the 13th, and I swear these horror franchises are just kicking the dead horse. Campsites. Have you ever been to a summer camp?
No. Well, I've not really one that you camp out at. I've been to summer camp in terms of like a school program you go to during the day.
I went to I'm gonna call it a camp. It was a week-long venture. It was a week-long venture when I was in the 6th grade. I had just started middle school. And we signed on to do this, week-long kind of end of summer, beginning of the school year camp. And I remember it was called Cispus. And that was actually where I learned that there is a specific breed of like 3-leaf clover that is perfectly edible and tastes like sour apples.
Today I learned.
Yep. And every time I go hiking, if I find these clovers, I will munch on like 6 of them. I'll stick that shit in my mouth like a fucking a wheat stem. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Horror movies are exactly why I've never gone to a summer camp. I wouldn't say that this particular camp was haunted, but it had everything. It had the cabins. We were the brown bear cabin. I was specifically in brown bear cabin. But we had the campfires at night. They had the big common area for like eating and gathering with the classmates to do various activities. We had the nature hikes. Overall beautiful area. And it was a lot of fun. But I never really saw any hauntings. But there were a couple of ghost stories that were told surrounding that area. Whether they were to just scare us kids or like actual urban legends of the area, I don't know. But I do remember there was this one story about a couple of it was a couple. It was a couple of people that were together who had gone on a college trip with a group of friends, and they had drowned in the river. And I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember the story in full, but they the spirits of that couple had gotten separated, so you could still hear them like calling out to each other from across the river, because one of them had made it out before getting lost in the woods and dying, and the other one had drowned in the river. That's what it was. But you could still hear them calling to each other from across both sides of the river. And it was really weird because the next thing we heard was somebody scream. And yes, it was one of the counselors trying to scare us. But I did have somebody who swore that they actually heard it, though. They weren't able to sleep, and they had gone outside of the cabin because they were a chronic insomniac. Still are. Guy's name was Jerome, and he swore he heard the woman who had drowned. He heard her scream.
Oh my god.
And that kind of stuff still fascinates me. You don't hear a lot about campsite hauntings because it's, I don't know, maybe they're just not as interesting, or maybe Friday the 13th ruined it. I don't know.
That's definitely terrifying. Like, I would believe it. There's a lot that happened that can be trapped in campsites in the woods.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, speaking of which, let me see if I can find that one story again. There was one that I heard that I found 6 years ago that
Don't believe
really
everything you
loved.
camp. Thank you, Swole.
Don't believe everything you camp.
Although if I camp in my parking lot.
Oh, I found it. Okay. So, summer camp story. A little bit longer than the one I told earlier, but this one's good. I liked it. It's called, yes, it's going to tie into something. It's not related to the entity, I promise. It's called Camp Slenderwood. It is not related to the entity, I swear to God. There I was at the front entrance to Camp Slenderwood. The beginning of my 7-day-long prison sentence had begun. I was never into the outdoors, much preferred staying inside, browsing the internet. The reason I was here in the first place is because my parents wanted some privacy to do their taxes. I was almost 18. I knew what that really meant. I figured it would just be better to go along with their plan than to interrupt their alone time. Still, I had to admit to myself that the camp didn't look particularly unpleasant. The weather was nice, the trees were fresh and filled with green, and there was a crystal clear lake nearby the cabins. I figured it would at least be tolerable to stay there, even without a Wi-Fi connection. I decided I would give it a fair chance and keep an open mind about the new experience. In the middle of camp, between the lunch benches, sat a stage with a mustached man wearing a Camp Slenderwood t-shirt. Dozens of campers had already begun to surround the stage while the man yelled through a microphone. "Welcome to Camp Slenderwood, kids," he shouted. "My name is Elwood Dulcie, but you can call me Elwood. I'm the owner of this place, and I live here all season to help run the camp and answer any questions. We had an amazing turnout this week. There are 64 teens here ready to learn what it means to survive." I wondered to myself what he meant by survive. There was nothing in the brochure about this being a survivalist camp. We were supposed to be provided sleeping quarters and 3 meals throughout the day. Was I going to be expected to hunt a boar or something? I figured he must have been exaggerating and let the thought go after a few moments. "We've already assigned everyone their cabins," Elwood continued. "Just grab your camp ID cards from Lexi over there and she'll point you in the right direction." He pointed to a pretty blonde in her 20s who was also wearing a Camp Slenderwood t-shirt. She looked cheerful, almost overly cheerful, and was waving ID cards in her hands enthusiastically. Kids began to rush over to Lexi to grab their ID cards and get their assigned cabins. I followed as well, tuning out the rest of Elwood's speech. With any luck, I'd find someone to spend these 7 days that felt just as out of place as I did. Fortunately, not long after that, I bumped into a quiet-looking guy trying unsuccessfully to load up my favorite forum on his phone. His name was Brian. We hit it off instantly, spending most of the day talking about how dorky all of the camp supervisors looked. They were all over-the-top friendly and seemed to care just a little too much about what kind of day everyone was having. 2 counselors had already asked me if something was wrong when I had not finished all of my Salisbury steak. One of them even offered me cold medicine when I cleared my throat. The only worker who seemed normal was Mr. Todd, cafeteria supervisor and cook. He wasn't quite as talkative, but at least he didn't constantly patronize us. Brian and I wound up getting separated after dinner. I got to know a few more of the campers at that point, as well as see the camp supervisors put on a show and dance with no background music. When I got to my cabin that night, I was disappointed to see that Brian was not in the same wood. There were 3 campers inside who were apparently my roommates. They seemed like alright guys, but none of us talked much before going to sleep. I was actually excited for what was in store the next day. Morning came very quickly. It wasn't long before I found Brian sitting near the cafeteria. The benches were less full than yesterday, but it was still early. At first I thought most of the campers were still in bed, but by late afternoon, it still felt like half of them were missing. I went up to Mr. Todd and asked him if all of the kids had come for breakfast and lunch. Mr. Todd shook his head and plopped a burger on my plate. Couldn't shake the feeling that something odd was going on. Everything felt much more active than yesterday. There were only a few people circling the Camp Slenderwood puppet show, and even fewer were spread out in the woods area. I became more suspicious when I realized a good amount of campers were still missing by dinner time. What was going on here? I wish I had gotten to know everyone better the first day so I could figure out who was still here and who wasn't. When I got back to my cabin, all 3 of my roommates were already inside. It comforted me a little to see all of them. Perhaps I just made a mistake. I decided to check with them to see if they had noticed anything strange. To my surprise, they all shrugged my question off and acted like they didn't know what I was talking about. Was I just making myself go crazy? How could over 30 kids just up and vanish without a trace, or without anyone saying something? The thought was ridiculous, and I laughed about it to myself as I fell into a deep sleep. The 3rd day, things got even weirder. I guess my nerves were pretty worked up because I woke a little before daylight. The camp looked much more foreboding under the darkness, the slender trees wrapped around the sky until all you could see were the shrouds. Even creepier was the fact that I could see all the camp supervisors standing in a circle outside. I couldn't tell what was going on, but several of them were hunched over awkwardly. The sight was very unsettling, and I quickly hid away from the window so they wouldn't see me. It was at that point that I realized 2 of my roommates were not in the cabin. I had seen them go to bed that night, but now their beds were fully made and their belongings were nowhere to be found. Out of panic, I woke up my remaining roommate to get some answers. When I told him my roommates were gone, he got agitated with me and said we had no roommates before going back to sleep. When the day came, Oh. Diverting, thank you for the raid, my dear. I'll wait for that to play out first.
Hello, Diverting.
Thank you for the raid, everybody. Welcome in. My
Oh,
name
it
is
scared you.
Azurine. My name is AzurineFoxglove, and I am here with Midkits today for our Full Moon Foxes podcast. We're discussing hauntings tonight. And I was just telling a story of a haunted campsite, or a supposedly haunted campsite. When day came, I left the cabin to investigate. Now there were only 1 or 2 kids near the cafeteria, but none of them seemed alarmed in any way. I kept repeating what my remaining roommate said to me in my head. Was he playing some kind of sick joke on me? The camp supervisors were acting completely normal, but I didn't dare ask them anything. I started asking every kid I could find where the other campers were, and each time they said there were only 16 of us. Couldn't believe what I was hearing. There were definitely more than 16 campers the first day. Elwood said there were 64. Were they abducting some of us during the night? If so, why was I the only one who could remember anything? Something wasn't right here, and I had to figure out what it was. I was beyond relieved to find Brian out by the lake. At least there was one person here who would listen to me. When I got to him, I frantically started explaining everything that I had seen. The more I told him, the more concerned his expression got. By the time I finished, he was actually sweating, and he had lost eye contact completely with me. I don't know what you're talking about, he said blankly. There were only 16 of us registered to stay. Maybe you got confused when all the families were here. Brian was staring at the ground so hard you'd think there was a snake there. My heart sank as I realized that I couldn't trust him anymore. I had felt so utterly and completely alone. Without saying another word, I got up and left. I was walking in a fog, not even aware of where I was headed. Fear and dread began to take over me. I had to find some place to hide. Eventually, I wandered back to my cabin, where I stayed under my covers for the remainder of the day. I didn't know what else to do. So I laid there, helpless, until I miraculously drifted to sleep. I wasn't surprised at all to find my cabin completely empty when I woke up. Sure enough, the few campers I managed to track down believed there were only 8 of us. This is way too much for me to handle. My survival instincts were beginning to kick in. I made sure no one was looking and darted off as fast as I could toward the exit of the camp. I was surrounded by at least 70 miles of wilderness, but it was better than just waiting to disappear. But they must have been watching me, because I was intercepted within less than a minute by Elwood and 3 supervisors. Elwood had a huge grin on his face and was staring at me with his eyes wide open. "Whoa there, little buddy! Where are you running off to? I'd sure have hell to pay from your parents if I lost one of my only 8 campers." An impulse told me to fight, but I knew I was outmatched and outnumbered. They started closing in on me, causing me to back up slowly. Suddenly, Elwood stopped. "I know what you need." He smiled ominously at me. "You need to play charades with us. Come on, it's just about to start." Feeling trapped and violated, I reluctantly agreed and followed him to the bench area. Played charades all day, feeling sick as I pushed down my desire to yell for help. I didn't sleep at all that night. I didn't look out the window either. I didn't think I could handle seeing any more late-night gatherings by my prison guards. When the morning of the 5th day came, I felt hungover from stress. My eyes had sunken in and my skin felt dry. There were now only 4 campers left, which didn't even make sense anymore. As I got my breakfast, I looked up at Mr. Todd and remembered that he had been the only one I felt was normal. Now that I was thinking about it, I didn't see him in the circle of supervisors outside either. He was my only chance, so I very quietly whispered to him, "Mr. Todd, please help me. They're going to take me if you don't do something." Mr. Todd didn't look at me. but I could see him trying hard to keep his composure. His eyes looked like they were slightly watering, and he was shaking. It reminded me of the way Brian reacted when I reached out to him. "If you need to talk, come see me by the lake this afternoon." He responded after what felt like an eternity. I could tell by the way he said it that he wanted to end the conversation for now, so I quickly headed out to eat. I waited by the lake for the entire day, but Mr. Todd never showed up. I waited until dark when a supervisor came and escorted me back to my cabin. I felt defeated. And due to not having slept in 2 days, I felt exhausted. I fell asleep within minutes and enjoyed the temporary peace. It was the 6th day now. The week was almost over. I wondered to myself if I would survive it, which made me appreciate the speech Elwood gave the first day. He hadn't been exaggerating when he said I would learn what it means to survive. I knew that if I somehow made it through this, it would be a miracle. To my disappointment, Mr. Todd was not in the cafeteria serving breakfast that day. The new cook was Mr. Beardsley, and he had never heard of Mr. Todd. It was now down to 2 campers, but what really shocked me was that the only other camper left besides me was Brian. I hadn't spoke to Brian since he had lied to me. I still felt uneasy about him, but I was beginning to accept that there may be nothing more I could do. Perhaps as a way to make peace with my situation, I sat down with Brian and began to talk. "You may be hiding something from me, but you're the closest thing I have here to a friend. I don't want to try and force the truth out of you. I just want one last day to enjoy. Can you give me that?" Brian looked up at me, his eyes lighting up a bit. "I knew you'd come around. There's no need to be depressed during your whole vacation." 2 of us talked about sci-fi shows and website design for the rest of the day, and I actually felt some comfort in taking my mind off the grim reality. I awake on the 7th day with a heavy heart. I knew Brian would be gone, and it would just be me and the supervisors. My parents were due to pick me up early tomorrow, so I didn't completely let go of the hope of getting home. I felt genuinely spooked walking around camp. The workers were all fixated on me and staring at me obsessively. They kept calling me their favorite little camper and tried to put on a show after show in front of me. The new cook still made all the meals in bulk and just let the food I didn't take sitting out to rot. I tried jogging as a distraction, but Elwood would just follow right behind me and compliment me on my form. I was thankful when the sun finally went down and I was left alone in my cabin. There was no way I was falling asleep tonight. I couldn't risk being abducted like all the others. I started drinking from a mug of coffee I had gotten from the cafeteria. I expected to feel energized quickly, but it felt like it was making me more tired, if anything. I drank more to try to wake up, but it only made my eyelids feel heavier. Something in that coffee. Something was... "Welcome to Camp Slenderwood," Elwood shouted through his microphone. "We have a great turnout this week. 64 teens have come to learn what it means to survive." "I didn't see anything like that in the brochure," a freckled-faced kid whispered to another camper in the crowd. "You don't think this has anything to do with that missing kid from last year, do you?" "Nah, this place is totally safe," the second camper answered back. "By the way, I'm Brian."
Holy fuck. Oh my god.
I feel like that one takes haunting to a weird new, level.
It does.
Because
It's like repeating things.
Yeah, it's that time loop haunting. That's what I like to call them. Where it's like the same event repeating itself, but with different victims.
Like, I was, waiting to figure out what happened, at the end. I was kind of hoping we'd hear what happened, but fuck.
Oh yeah, no, they don't tell you. I like stories that do that, honestly. They don't fully tell you what happened. They just kind of, drop, vague hints and leave you to kind of speculate. I like doing that.
Was that the end? Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
And
so,
actually,
obviously we knew that
Pacific,
Brian knew what was going on.
Yeah, he turned out to be a ghost, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He turned out to be, the ghost.
Uh-huh.
What if he's the one abducting them?
Who knows? The
Also,
title is
Pacific-
very misleading though, because I heard the oh sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
The title was very misleading because like I heard the title Slenderwood and I was like, ah man, is this a Slenderman story? Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
that's
dead
what
wrong.
I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be a fucking Slenderman story, isn't it?
I was dead wrong and I was like, oh shit. Pleasant surprise. Anyway, please continue.
It said, you think forts are haunted? Funny enough, I don't know if you were just here like a few minutes ago. I was talking about a haunted fort.
You're talking about several.
Yeah, several. Fort Benning's probably got a good bit. Fort Benning is one of the largest infantry forts in the world. Maybe just
One
America.
good example is the Screaming Lady of Philadelphia's Fort Mifflin. Ooh.
Can't say I've ever heard of that one.
Neither have I. Also, I'm going to sneak a quick shout out to Diverting because I didn't get to that while I was reading.
Yeah, shout outs to Diverting. Hope things
Thank
went
you
well
so much
there
for
with
the
y'all.
raid. There we go.
One thing on the note of haunting, I'd like to bring up. I'm pretty sure, as you've also heard of the term "the lady of the house."
Yes.
I don't exactly have like a. Would you happen to know what the full description of that is to help our viewers out for
No.
this story? I believe let me look that up while I'm thinking about it. Lady of. Oh, I just get a fucking TV show. Okay, fuck you. But what I've learned is lady is a spirit of what would be a lady, kind of like, say, a maid. Or possibly, I guess you could say, was the mother who did a lot of things in the house. Her spirit haunts and holds that place. A friend of mine who used to live in a place in my county had a house with one.
Oh?
And, well, rented out a house with one. That house is long demolished now. But he's had a couple of times where there's been times that she has been really temperamental with him. And there have been times where she has actually helped him out. Like, he's found his drawers closed and doors closed by themselves. All that. He's never really saw her. But there was a time he told me, I remember, him mentioning that he got home. He had a bunch of dishes in his, sink. He needed to get them done. And he's like, oh, I'll fucking worry about them later. He gets down and sits down to play some Xbox. After, probably about an hour, he hears, a crash!
Oh, she was mad as hell.
There were several dishes thrown on the floor, smashed in his kitchen. She was not, so he was like, fine, okay, I'll do the dishes.
Oh, she was mad as hell.
Yeah, no, she wasn't too happy about that. Like, all right, fine, you're gonna sit in here, fucking have your goddamn dishes. And fucking shattered them.
My god.
I couldn't imagine
Living or
living with a
dead,
lady
don't
of the
piss
house.
off. Yeah, living or dead, don't piss off a lady of the house. Moral of
I
the
get that
story is what I'm
executive
getting.
dysfunction. Sometimes it's hard for me to do dishes or get shit like that done. All of my dishes would be smashed.
I actually just did my dishes. My roommate and I, we just did our dishes today. And we've been trying to kick our own asses into gear for this. So God forbid we had a lady of the house in here.
Oh no, I would be fucked. Like, I'd be like, all right, let's just hear it in the middle, and then I'd be like, it doesn't work on me, and then go back to sleep. Leave me alone.
Oh, you
And
would wake up.
I would wake up with her at the
dead.
foot of the bed. I'm like, okay, I'll clean.
She would paralysis demon your ass. Yeah.
One time, Nair had sleep paralysis, and her paralysis demon was fucking Alistair from Hazbin Hotel. I'm not joking. That's literally what happened to him.
Oh my god. The only one that I could imagine being worse than that is Helsing Abridged Alucard. Imagine that being your fucking paralysis demon.
Sup?
You just wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, what the fuck?
He's just doing the fucking thing where he's sitting down in his fucking crypt in his chair, just sitting in the corner of the room, leg crossed, be like, sup?
Yep.
I don't need to tell you this. All of this you're seeing right now is not real.
Oh god. Oh, dude, that would fuck me up.
I'm a figment of the IRS.
Not the IRS. He would say some fuck shit like that, though. I've heard of, I've heard a couple people tell stories about their sleep paralysis demons where it's like, one of them was just kind of goofy and the rest of them are just kind of like fucking terrifying.
Some of them could get like
goofy in
terrifying, I've heard.
hindsight. Goofy in hindsight, but in the moment it's like, what is happening? What is going on?
Wait, what the fuck?
3 sleep paralysis demons. Is it weird that I've wanted to like purposely induce sleep paralysis on myself? Am I weird for that?
No. I honestly don't blame you. I would love to see what actually happens.
I have genuinely wanted to do that meme where it's like taking 17 Benadryls to see the Hat Man.
Please do not. I owe him $20. I do
What'd you
not
do
wish.
about the Hat Man?
I do not wish to see him.
What'd you do to piss off the Hat Man? I don't like that you're not answering.
Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it.
Oh, now I'm worried. But like, okay, I have a friend. I have a friend. His name is his name on Discord. We just call him Eyes. He has told me that he has seen the Hat Man one time, and he said that he wouldn't recommend the experience. But me, being a horror junkie dumbass, I'm tempted to take the 17 Benadryl and induce a Hat Man episode. The aliens, the Shadow Hat Man, and Alistair. Yeah, I know it's a bad idea. I know it's a bad idea. Which is why I haven't done it yet. I call the Hat Man's partner fat, and I think they want to kill me now. Why would you do that, Jade?
I've had the aliens, the Shadow Hat Man, and Alistair, is what Nair says.
The Shadow Hat Man.
I don't want to see the hat. Fucking $20, dude.
What kind of bet did you lose?
The motherfucker cheats at cards.
Damn.
I do not wish to see him. Goes back to the whole salt circle thing. That doesn't work on Kitsune. Do you think I'm just gonna step over it?
If they gained more weight, they would have got that hard issues and croaked. Jade, you can't just tell them that though. You have to be sensitive.
Alistair was the tame one. I don't know how to feel about that.
I'm blunt. I can't help it. Okay, the fact that you're saying Alistair was the tame one, I'm imagining him just sitting there all normal and cheeky, like, you know, normal Alistair behavior. Then there's just the Shadow Hat Man that's just standing in your fucking corner, in like the threshold of your bedroom, just staring at you. And for some reason, that's actually kind of terrifying.
It is pretty terrifying.
I think the only thing worse than having a sleep paralysis demon that like actively will like crawl all over you and shit is one that just stands there and stares at you. Because that shit makes me feel like I've got bugs crawling all over my skin, and I don't like that. I dislike that sensation very much.
I do not like that feeling at all.
Nope. Yeah, exactly. No, Pacific is exactly right, because you don't know what it's gonna do.
Yeah!
Like, is it gonna walk in? Is it gonna touch any part of my face? I don't want that. He was sitting on the dresser telling me stories about his living life? Really? Well, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because he could either be just some normal average Joe that just suddenly became the Shadow Hat Man, or a deranged psychopath. Again, I say the most haunted thing is the living human mind.
It is genuinely fucking terrifying of the things that the human mind can create and come forward with.
Which is usually, oh, you know what? That's going to be a topic for another episode. Mental illness and psychopaths.
That's
and how they
one.
correlate and how they don't. I'll make a fucking Venn diagram.
I could have a lot to talk about that as someone who has been diagnosed with a lot of PTSD and a lot of mental stuff like that.
Oh, thank you, Tyler. That's very nice of you. It's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, apologies, Tyler. I'm so used to calling people by their username sometimes that when I get their
too.
actual real name. And then it goes the opposite because everyone knows me as, while they know me as Midkits or Kits, they also call me Jackie. Unless you're GK who calls me Michi.
I was gonna say I've heard GK call you Michi, and I was like, where did that come from? Hello, who's Michi?
It's because I used to go by Michelle. Or Shelly, and she just started calling me Michi. And it kind of stuck with her.
Yeah. Jade says that they've never had a sleep paralysis demon, but they did have a sleep paralysis dream. It involved suffocating in Legos for... I'm sorry for laughing. I'm sorry for laughing, but that... Oh my goodness. I couldn't breathe. That explains it. Wait, what? Oh! I understand.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense, actually.
Yep. Imagine suffocating in Legos, though. I imagine that's not a good way to go. Imagine that'd be painful, actually, suffocating in Legos.
No, thank you. I would rather not.
Not in the slightest. They stared and physically made me stop breathing into... Oh, Nair. Oh, Lord.
Jesus Christ, Nair, I am so sorry.
Oh, that makes my stomach feel not good. Ooh. That makes my stomach feel very not good. Suddenly, I don't know if I want to induce a sleep paralysis dream. I feel like if I did it in a controlled environment where I could easily be awoken, then I'd probably be fine. Like a sleep experiment type deal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, the full moon is beautiful today. It's nice and clear outside, so it's like bright. That's why Alistair was a welcome home. I understand. I understand, and I am so sorry. I've been joking about sleep paralysis this whole time. I am literally the worst. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of like awful shit about sleep paralysis demons, and I would. I have night terrors a lot. I have seriously awful body horror night terrors.
Oh.
More than I want.
Oh dear.
And they're just so fucking annoying to deal with.
It's interesting that you've gotten to a point where it's more annoying than actually, like, scary. Like, I imagine they are still terrifying, but it's interesting how it goes from, like,
they are terrifying.
To annoyance.
It makes it hard. I mean that it makes it hard to want to go to sleep at night, which is why I get so little sleep. because I don't know
Oh.
if I'm going to have one of those or not.
I understand. I went through a brief period where it wasn't night terrors, but there was a very specific set of nightmares that plagued me for a couple of years after I moved out of my mother's house. I understand the lack of sleep part of that. It made my job life suffer.
And also,
What kind of
Tyler, yes, I would love to hear.
Yeah, I was
We would
about to
love
say the
hear
same
that.
thing. I was about to say the same thing. Yes, please continue. I hope you guys in my chat have been enjoying the music, by the way. It's all the music that I play on my channel is done either by Muji or by Derek and Brandon Feichter. Muji is fantastic for ominous and spooky settings. They have he has done a couple of emotional pieces as well. I use Derek and Brandon Feichter mostly for the fantasy element that fits with my general vibe, but Muji is always a go-to for horror music. Set in the 1940s, a Missouri-Kansas-Texas Railroad, H3A, Pacific, was crossing over a bridge during the storm, and as the locomotive and yellow boxcar crossed the bridge, the entire bridge collapsed. Oh. Snapping the coupler from the baggage car, and the entire train fell into... Oh my god.
Yeah, no, that's actually pretty terrifying.
Oh yeah. Oh, speaking of trains, I can't be sure if this was the case, but I was crossing the tracks a few days ago. I had gotten sick at work, so I had to leave work early, but as I was crossing the tracks and going home, I saw what looked like a bit of hair on the tracks. And I don't know if it was hair or if it was like snapped off twine or something like that. I'm really hoping that it was the latter. But I remember feeling a little spooked. God, I imagine. Yeah, that sounds horrifying.
That does. A lot of those, I've had stuff like that. Dreams. About, train, like, getting hit by a train and stuff. I've had dreams where I've gotten into a car crash. Like, I felt it and I actually woke up.
I remember this one very specific dream where I gained lucidity. I went lucid in the dream, and I've had pretty consistent... Hi, Mocha.
Hello, Mocha.
Pretty consistent night terrors for several years, too. Thankfully, they've stopped recently. That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm gonna be real with you. I only got like 2 hours of sleep last night because of what?
Jackie!
Come
here, I hug you, baby.
Please, I would like a hug. And it didn't start... Lack of sleep didn't start hitting me until, like, later the evening.
Yeah, it tends to happen that way, doesn't it? You go to bed at around the same time every night, and then, like, you don't do that, and your body's just like, what the fuck? What do? What do? But I remember... Okay, I remember this one dream where I was in the middle of the dream. I was outside my apartment, and I gained lucidity, and I realized, hey, I want to wake up now. So my brain somehow put together the logic of you die in the dream, you wake up, right? So
Yeah.
I went and I stood out in the middle of the road as a car was coming. That car went right through me. And I panicked. I remember there was a guy in the dream that was standing on my front lawn. He was talking to me, but I couldn't make out what he was saying, and I don't even remember the guy's face. But I remember he was really tall. Not like Slender Man tall, but like at least a foot taller than me. He was wearing a flannel, red flannel. But I tried it again. Same thing happened. I don't even remember what woke me up. But during that point of lucidity, I remember being like, I want to wake up. And then looking out into the street, seeing the headlights of a car approaching. And standing in the middle of the road and watching that car go through me. And I remember the panic. It was so weird. I don't know if I should classify that as a sleep paralysis or an out-of-body experience. I actually nearly got hit by a train IRL. Tyler, what the hell? Family was wedged between two vehicles due to a red light further up. Oh no. Oh no. That's
Jesus
terrible.
Christ, man.
Pro tip, don't watch a show about the world's worst nuclear disaster when you have a phobia of nuclear... Mocha! Oh.
That shit sticks with you.
Oh, yeah. 10 seconds. I almost lost my life in 10 seconds. Oh my god. Okay, not...
The autism must learn more about thing rabbit holes. Yes, it is! Because I ended up in a lot of websites that I shouldn't have learned about at a young age. And I don't mean like, two girls, one cup. I mean,
oh god.
I mean watching someone get a certain important top half of them sliced off of by accident and in all the detail, and it was
okay.
yeah.
Ooh, all right.
The curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought, but no, the curiosity threw the fucking cat down a hallway there.
I remember my first introduction to horror films. There was a movie called Ghost Ship. Oh, tying back beautifully into hauntings. But the movie was about a crew that was going to investigate this wreckage of a cruise line. And I was specifically talking about this because I remember how graphic that movie was. There was a point where there was a specific ghost or entity that was on the ship that had taken the form of a lovely young lady. Yeah, that chick got hooked on one of those really big, like, chain hook things. The really heavy ones, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, right under the jaw. And the movie did not spare any detail.
Fuck that. Fuck that shit.
To 10-year-old me, that was scared. But tying that back into hauntings, and it reminds me of another movie that I saw later down the line. I was like 15 or 16. It was called Ouija. It had Karen Gillan in it, and if you guys don't know who she is, she played Amy Pond in Doctor Who. Favorite show at the time, and when I found out that she played in this movie, I had to see it. So it was about a sister and a brother who had inherited a house that the childhood home that they had lived in. But there was a mirror that was kind of the source of the hauntings that were surrounding that particular house and several of the memories that they lived through as children. So they set up a bunch of like ghost hunting equipment in that room to try and catch it in the act, so that they could. I think one of them wanted to profit off of it. I don't remember which one, but there was one scene that I remember. Hauntings are fun. You know why? Because they make you see shit that ain't there. So when I watched this poor woman take a bite into an apple and then her mouth starts bleeding. Yeah, that was not an apple. That was the light bulb that was sitting next to it.
Yeah, no thank you.
Except
No
it wasn't
fucking-
actually the light bulb. It was the apple. She just hallucinated the entire fucking thing. Because hauntings are funny.
That shit is fucking terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely fucking terrifying.
Oh, but it's such a... As a horror movie trope, at least, it's such a fun way to do hauntings. You think you're biting into a fucking apple? Nope, that shit's glass. You think you're eating rice? Nah, bitch, maggots.
No. No thank you.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm. Ugh. The thought of the maggots one just makes my stomach turn.
I've had I've had dreams before where I have woken up screaming because like some hand reached through the ground in my dream and grabbed my leg through
Nope.
everything that was going on, and I literally woke up and screamed.
I have never had a dream that woke me up screaming before, I will say that. The weirdest thing that I've ever done in my dream was actually told to me by a friend of mine. Apparently, I giggle in my sleep. Which is already creepy enough.
Really? Wait, really?
Apparently. Yeah, apparently. Apparently this is like 2 other times that it happened. But I would just giggle in my sleep. Imagine having a sleepover with me and then that's the only thing you hear.
I was when I got the night terrors. I was managed to shape my shelf away. Like, God damn it, not now. Yeah, no, I can't. I've unfortunately learned that a lot of times I get along. I'm just stuck along for the ride until it. I've had some times where when Nair has died, and a lot of things that have to do with rotting corpses and stuff like that in my dream, that I've woken up and grabbed Nair to make sure that he's still with me, and like physically shaking to make sure that he's okay and he's actually still there.
I have had one dream like that. And funny enough, it happened while I was on vacation last year. I was in Texas for a convention. And at some point, I had gone to sleep and I had a dream that my brother had died. And I knew who had killed him. I knew what had happened. I knew exactly what had happened. And the second I woke up, I wrote it down. I still have that note on my phone. But that morning, I called my brother and I made sure that he was still alive. The sound of I had to hear his voice. And when he answered, he was like, it was like 4 a.m. where he was, so he was like super tired. But like, knowing that he was still there, I damn near cried like on the phone. I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I just needed to hear you. I just needed to make sure you're okay. And he's like, I'm fine. Are you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good now. I'm good now. Second I hung up, I started weeping. And just last night, I had a dream that my grandmother had died. And everything went into disarray. I don't remember too much from that dream, but I do remember waking up I remember waking up in the dream. Oh, another raid. Sorry, one second.
No, it's okay.
Shakanetsu, thank you for the raid, my dear.
Welcome into AzurineFoxglove stream.
Welcome back to another episode of Full Moon Foxes with myself and the lovely Midkits here. 2 paranormal foxes and lover of all things horror. This episode we're covering hauntings. Hauntings of both the physical and the mental. Because we have covered everything from war stories to dreams and sleep paralysis. I mean, what was I talking about before? Oh yeah. I don't remember everything that went on, but I remember waking up in the dream and like putting out a Discord ping stating that my grandmother had died. And I had to wake up, and when I woke up for real, I had to make sure that I hadn't actually put that there because it took me a while to actually come back to myself and be like, no, she didn't. Everything's fine. And sure enough, I didn't put out the ping. I thought I had done it like in my half asleep state, which I want to do sometimes. It's tough not being able to differentiate the real from the dream. But I suffer from that sometimes.
It's genuinely fucking terrifying.
I did. Oh, it's been 2 hours already? Dang. Do you want to keep going, or is this a good place to
I'm down to go for another hour.
Sure. Topics like this, like there's so many things that encompass it. It's hard not to find things to talk about when it comes to hauntings. It's so right, Nair? It's so weird not being able to tell like what's actually happening and what's not happening until you're actually lucid enough. Like when you first wake up, anything you could tell me the sky was green in my half asleep state and I would believe you.
It's hard to, it is really hard, and it becomes even worse when you can't differentiate between those two.
That's another reason why I'm probably one of the ones that's like easily what's the word? Easily swayed by hypnosis. It was better to tell my story than keep it hidden for the rest of my life. I agree. It's better to have it out there than to hang on to stuff like that forever. Because there's always a chance you will find like-minded people.
Absolutely. And there is, I say it just like a pot of boiling water. There are certain times where you should talk about it. And you should get it out. Because if you leave the lid on that, it's going to eventually boil over.
And that lid's going to pop off and it's not going to be fun. But when you find those like-minded people, something about sharing the suffering makes you feel a little bit less alone. Also, make sure you're drinking water, lovelies.
I made sure to get enough water.
I've still got 28 ounces of water left in my bottle. I have an active imagination. I do too. And that tends to leave me coming up with some weird stuff. I wouldn't say I straight up hallucinate. But there are times where it feels like it comes close. I have to ask Jackie if things that happened in my dream was real. Oh, yeah. Or is my mom calling me? I'll talk to her and then fall asleep thinking it was a dream because it was weird. It was a weird subject. I've had those moments. Oh god, what was something that happened that I straight up thought was like, okay, this one's a little bit funnier, but kind of in the same vein of like, that wasn't a dream. Anybody who's seen Twin Peaks You guys know the Red Room scene, the infamous Red Room scene, where everybody's talking like they've been speaking backwards and it's being replayed in reverse. And it's the phrase "that gum you like's gonna come back in style," and like the fucking weird ass dwarf dancing. I'm not kidding, it's actually a dwarf. I straight up thought that was a dream. And then I went back and I watched it again, and I was like, I thought I was hallucinating.
Those are just the strangest to me, honestly.
Stuff like that can range from genuine terror to just ridiculous. Like, there's no way. You sit there like, there's no way that actually happened. And everybody else around you's like, no, dude, that happened.
There's a lot that a lot of my friends would say. You remember when you did this when like you were 14? I'm like, I don't like remember a lot from like 2009 to like 2014, 15 is like almost wiped. It's like a dissolved and melted VHS tape. There's some of it you can see, and then the rest of it's just wiped out. I physically could not remember it if I tried, and I think there's probably a reason I can't remember it.
There is probably some traumatic answer to that. I'm the same way. There's a lot of my past that comes back in like bits and pieces. Like, it doesn't all come back at once. I can't recall things on a dime. It comes in waves. Some of it good, some of it bad. Like I tell you about that camp thing that I went to. I will probably not remember that next month.
There's a lot that it'll hit me sometimes like a freight train.
Hmm.
And then there's some where it just will not like show up like at all.
There's a lot of my school life that I just can't remember. The only thing I do remember was the times that I would get in trouble because I was a bully. Fun fact. But this just ties back into what we were saying before. The most haunted thing is the human psyche.
It is genuinely terrifying. There'll be times where everything can be fine, and the air suddenly weighs 200 tons, and there's a weight on my chest, and it feels like all the eyes are on me, and all the words of people that have hurt me back in the days.
Yep.
Hit me like a freight train, and I can't find that way out of my mind. And it's like the door handle vanishes.
Yep. Something similar that I kind of go through with that one. For me, it's less that I suddenly remember everything that everybody said to me. It's more of just the random feeling of dread. Like something's going to happen and I don't know what. That terrifies me more than anything.
It's genuinely horrifying that the mind can do this. The mind just going to fucking like self-destruct mode or some shit.
And for what though?
For just to make things worse. Like I thought things were supposed to get better.
Like we were supposed to work together, dude. Come on. I'm sorry, someone found a what in your where?
In the auditorium one time. Oh yeah, no, like I've found that in like some places in that I used to frequent in Columbus.
I've never found
There was a
anywhere.
car I had to valet one time. I'm like, oh cool, it's got like the little fake bullet hole stickers, and I finally got it close. I'm like,
Those are not fake.
those aren't stickers.
Oh
Those are real
no.
bullet holes. What the fuck?
Oh god, I remember the terror that I felt when I found out that the high school that I went to that my sister was currently going to at the time got a bomb threat.
Oh my god.
It was several years ago, but I still remember the fear that went through me.
Hello. Someone called it a bomb threat to my high school one time, and then there was like school still went on, but the entire fucking like school was being circled by like the sheriff's deputies of the area, and apparently, from what I heard, there was a helicopter hovering over the football game that night with a sniper. I don't know how true that last part was, but my county's like thing would not fuck around.
They are the county that we literally think of when we think of security.
That shit terrifies me, I swear.
See, I live in a little hick town. And kind of it's a small place. It's more like a retirement town than anything else. 50% of our population are older people. Very nice people most of the time. We also do have like a damn near 50-50 ratio, from what I've seen at least, of white and Mexican population. I actually got street tacos from a little Mexican shop that I live behind. God, they're so good, by the way. But but it's the kind of place where people can leave their doors unlocked. You know what I mean? It's that kind of place where like everybody kind of knows everybody, and people can leave their doors unlocked and feel mostly safe that no one's gonna like break in.
Yeah.
But you still hear shit. You hear shit that goes down in, I don't know, Johnny's house down on Davidson. And you're like, fuck, in this town of all places? And then people get really spooked for a little while. You don't really get school shootings or bomb threats here.
Some of it is just, it feels like a lot of it could just show up out of the fucking blue, and it's genuinely shocking. Like, it could be this calm place, and all of a sudden it just hits them.
That's why small town murders are usually ones that make the big news. Oh, actually, I forgot about one other place that I wouldn't say it's haunted, but it's definitely interesting. We call it the Ghost Bridge. It is a train bridge. You don't hear that fucking train until it's right on top of you. I've witnessed it myself.
That's terrifying considering how fucking loud trains are.
I've witnessed it myself.
Mocha says we have the opposite problem here. Is all the shady shit, drug stuff, etc., all got shipped up here to the interior when the Olympics went through Vancouver in 2010. It was already struggling. Now it's really into shit. Yeah, no, that was the same with Columbus. My mom used to tell me like stories about like Columbus downtown, Columbus, Georgia being very unsafe downtown. And while downtown is sort of safer, it's still bad. There were
one major city up north, three major cities down south. Shady as shit.
Azzy, would you like to know how many homicides we had in 2021?
I'm scared to know.
Almost 80.
What?
They usually average in like the 40s,
What
50s.
the fuck? What the fuck? Why? Why? Why are people? Why do people? Why?
See, 2025 homicide rate. There were 26 homicides reported in 2024.
There's 80 in 2025?
2021, there were 80.
Oh, 2021. Okay. Jesus, that drop though. What the fuck?
It is definitely,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, it
squid in one of
shocks
the
me.
snakes. Where the hell did they get their hands on a small squid?
Well, apparently Tyler lives in Florida, so.
Oh, that explains it. I laugh, but you know, Florida be Florida. I can't really think of anything else in my area that
I could think, I could, I could speak up some, like, I'm English. God? But,
he's not here, sorry.
God damn it. That was unintentional. But, but, I can think of a couple of areas. There's a lot of areas in, Columbus, Georgia that were haunted. And still are haunted. But, I gotta piss, so I will be right back real quick.
Alright. Leave me on the edge like that? Damn, girl.
Yeah. I'll go piss, girl.
God's at Pizza Hut. What's he doing over there, Jade? Hope you guys are enjoying the stream so far. We've had a lot more traction this time, which is really nice. We're hoping this podcast grows a little bit more. We're probably not going to make it anything like too big and mainstream. It's just a couple of foxes talking about horror stuff. I like listening to you two. You both have a very calming voice. Thank you, Mocha. That's very sweet of you. I'm almost done with my water. I might have to wrap things up soon on my end. I'm getting a weird headache behind my left eye. I'll be sure to let Jackie know when she comes back. That is the third raid of the evening. Hello, Night. How was your stream? How are you today? To everybody coming in from the Night Shifter's stream, hello. My name is AzurineFoxglove. I am the resident bard of the Invalid Gateway and in the land of Twitch. My entire purpose on this platform is to entertain and amuse. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Tonight we are live again with another episode of Full Moon Foxes, a podcast dedicated to all things horror, with myself and fellow IG team member Midkits, aka Jackie. She is currently away from her desk at the moment, so she will be back momentarily. I hope that you had a good stream. Let me give you a shout out tonight. Feel free to stick around or go ahead and do some after stream care if you need it.
I'm back.
Some
Oh,
Pokemans?
yeah, Mocha. Azzy really does have a really calming voice.
I could say the same thing about you, my darling.
Wait, no. Also, I got a cookie that I got from the gas station on the way home.
Ooh, yay. I
It
got a
is
third
a
raid.
cookies and cream stuffed cookie.
Nice. I got a third raid. I got a raid from Night. Lead Doppler is
shit.
correct. It's true, Jackie. Don't deny the truth.
Wait, no.
No, don't do that.
No.
You're not allowed to do that. Stop it.
No. What? No, you say that.
Wait.
I went to the bathroom and Holly did the cat thing where they get low and they do that creep walk?
Yes.
She walked over
That's
to
how you know they're guilty as crap.
yeah, she walked in curled up in the corner of by the back door, under some wood, and I picked her up. I'm like, what are you doing? She just kind of looked at me and I picked her. She goes, wee. And I'm holding her and she's just sitting there with her arms down. Wee. Wee. I'm like, oh my god, chill. Wee. And then I kiss her little forehead. She goes, eh.
Silly cat behavior.
Oh, orange cats are stupid. Fucking gray cats are just crackheads.
Orange cats can be crackheads too, though.
Bubble, there is nothing going on up there. I look right at that cat, and there is nothing behind those eyes.
Your name is Bubble?
I know. The little gray one. She's not even a year old. Her name is Holly, because when my mom and dad were visiting, we found this tiny little gray striped kitten in the bushes of the Holiday Inn at the hotel they were staying at. So we named her Holly.
Aww. Aww.
And our other cat, this big boy, the biggest boy, he's orange, and his name is Bubbles.
Aww.
Because he is round like Bubble.
Him look like Bubble.
Him look like a fucking creature when he stares at me from the hallway in the dark. I'm like, what do you want, Bubbles? What do you want? He has 5 different tones of meow, and I don't know how to fucking register any of it. But one of the places haunted in Columbus, Georgia, is the Civil War Naval Museum. Now, I did mention earlier that Columbus has a lot of history with the Civil War.
Yes.
There is a lot on display at the Naval Museum that has been built because Columbus is directly on the bank of the Chattahoochee. And was a mill town. There are a lot of abandoned and nowadays burnt down or dismantled mills on the riverbank of the Chattahoochee. So, of course, you had ironclads in a lot of different ships, like the warships from the Civil War that existed. There are 2 massive, one which is parts of the CSS Chattahoochee, and then there's the CSS Jackson, which is, we have the entire hull that was raised out of the water in one area and put on display.
Mm-hmm.
That place has had a lot of hauntings. And it has had a good bit of moments, especially for some reason, in the gift shop. And I've witnessed it myself, where it felt like someone grabbed my arm. There have been times that books have flown off the shelves, according to people who work there at the museum.
Oh, fun.
And there have been times where things have been hidden. There are probably a lot of restless spirits that came from those artifacts, either pulled out of the water or pulled out of battlegrounds.
I don't doubt it.
It was me. I'd come to throw books. Please do not throw books at people. I have to pay for that shit.
I I've been hit in the head with a book before. It's not fun. Please don't hit me.
Yeah, no, I have too. I did it to someone else, but there was a good reason.
Was it the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me?
Six and stones may break my bones, but this book is gonna fucking hurt. But I was bullied a lot in high school. That's a story for another day. But you ever heard of like the thing like hornets, where like people would slingshot balled up pieces of paper, like tiny little balled up like nubs of paper at you, and they hurt like a fucking hornet sting?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had that, and the dude kept doing it at me. I'm like, you do it again, you're gonna fucking regret it. He did it again. I threw a book at him. It hit him in the face. He stopped. It was the heaviest textbook I had, too.
No.
So, no, we call that fuck around and find out.
Jackie hit him with the algebra.
I hit him with the fuck around and find out.
That's crazy.
But there's also places.
Joke. Just like she said, just Dad, I'm grounded. What'd you do? My teacher said sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And so I threw a dictionary at her. You are ungrounded. I am gonna have to end this soon because I've got a weird headache behind my left eye.
Oh yeah, no, I totally understand.
Feels like someone's jabbing an ice pick in it.
I've admittedly been in a daze all day.
Oh.
Because that little sleep.
You know what? 2.5 hours is a pretty good runtime. Last time we only did like 2 hours, so we went a little overtime this time. I think that's a good place to round this episode out. I will get back to you tomorrow on the next topic so we have a little bit more time to prepare for it.
Definitely. Next time, hopefully we can go for a bit longer.
That would be lovely. I have been drinking water, Inky. I've been drinking water the entire time, I promise. I had a 64-ounce water bottle that's like more than half empty now. I've been drinking water. But I think... Oh, it is also 10:30. I should probably get to bed, too. But thank you, everybody who stopped in this time. Thank you for... thank you to Diverting, Shakunetsu, and to Night Shifter for the raids tonight.
Yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in for us tonight. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Full Moon Boxes. It's always a pleasure doing these with Azzy here, and she is an absolute doll to work with. She's amazing, one of my best friends. And, like I said, a fellow lover of the paranormal.
Finding somebody else who shares my love of horror the way Jackie does was definitely something that came as a very pleasant surprise. And
it started with just one thing for Invalid Gateway, like a campfire story thing, and then we just decided to do this, a more common thing.
It was great. It was so much fun, and it always has been fun, and I'm very much enjoying doing this, and I hope if this does get a little more popular and we do get a little bit more, I wouldn't say mainstream, but like a little more traction from it, then I don't know, maybe we can have like a more dedicated setup for the actual podcast episodes themselves. But I'm not really looking to make this podcast too big, just for horror fans such as us.
And it's really been a blast doing these. Like, I really cannot wait for the next one.
I might, if it's okay with you, Jackie, I might leave it up to community to decide what the next topic would be. I'll pick like 3 different ones, and I'll let them choose.
Oh, I'm completely okay with that. I'd actually love to see who would like to do that.
Sounds fun. Then about a week or 2 weeks prior, I'll put out a poll, and I will keep you updated with the results. That being said, I don't have anybody that we can raid to this evening, so I think I'll just round us out and send us all on our merry ways. Be sure to follow the link that I have pinned in the chat to make sure that you subscribe to Midkits' channel, because she does plenty of other different streams on the side. If you want to talk about anything locomotives, what was it, fighter planes as well?
Fighter planes, cars. I live and breathe railways, motorsports, machinery, games, music. Japan, because I'm a complete fucking weeb. And a bunch of other things. Like, always. I'm always welcome to have more people to chat with. It's great to see everyone here.
You said Japan, me as a Yakuza enjoyer.
Azzy, when she goes to Japan and gets into a fight with a Yakuza, it's canon.
Imagine if I actually got into a fight with a Yakuza. Oh no. I'd probably die though. I cannot hold my own in a fight. I would fight tooth and nail, but I would probably die. I'd be left in the street like a dog.
Oh, you'll be fine. Like, I'll just show up. And you just
True.
know what you do is you call GK.
I call GK. So true, bestie. She will pop out of the wall and be like, "Excuse me?" She'll pop out of the wall with a chancla.
Oh no, not the chancla.
She will pop out of the wall with a chancla. That said, everybody, again, thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and we will see you next time.
Have a wonderful night, everyone.